How's it going, everybody? It's Matt again. Today we're going to take a look at another NEWAGE product on their Legend Scale line of third-party transformers. This is going to be H42 SHEAN or SHEAN or however you pronounce that. I think it's probably SHEAN, right? But anyways, here's the box. Mine was tore up a little bit just from the seller that I got it from, but luckily my figure was perfectly fine. He comes packaged in car mode, which is really nice. You know I like that. But he does have everything is nice. It's kind of like the G1 type of style. But there he is from the top and from the side, and there is an image from the back. Yeah, he's a pretty nice little box. He is, of course, going to come with a set of instructions. They are okay. You know, it's just like all of NEWAGE's instructions. They're decent enough. But he's also going to come with a couple of accessories. He's going to come with this nice gun, very nicely silver painted. Looks great. I think it looks pretty good. He's also going to come with this extra little missile attachment for his little shoulder cannon piece. Also nice and painted silver. But that's about it. But here he is. And I will say, first and foremost, very nice paint job. He looks gorgeous. I mean, the whole thing is just so nice. Very well done. Nice plastic wheels. He rolls really well. He's roughly, Hot Wheel car size, just like the other car bots that we've gotten. Pretty damn nice. Nice pad printed decals there on the side. I put that Autobot symbol on there, so ignore that. But he's got this nice chrome here on the front. I don't know if this is die cast or not. It feels like it might be die cast, but the feet part here, the rear section here, these are definitely die cast. So he has a little bit of heft to him, surprisingly, for something so small. But he looks pretty darn good. Very happy with the way this looks. But let's just jump straight into transformation then. So basically what we're going to want to do is we'll start back here. These little foot sections here, we're just going to kind of flip out like so. And then we're going to take these little wheel sections and just kind of rotate them in like this. And then these little panels right here are going to detach from these white sections like so. And they're just going to kind of flip back a little bit to get out of the way. These wheel sections here are going to be on this little bar. We're going to rotate that forwards and then bring these wheels down and kind of get them out of the way for now. And then we'll go ahead and just push them in here. And then these little sections up here at the front are going to come in like so, just like 90 degrees. And then back here, the legs are going to kind of extend on this little bar, but you're going to want to kind of separate the legs, because as you pull this bar forwards, it's going to pull this panel out here on this armature, and then this whole thing is going to kind of flip up and kind of collapse inwards, and there's that little peg in there is going to peg into this tiny little slot on the side of the leg like that. And it's going to kind of collapse everything together really cleanly right here. Then the little wheel is going to flip in like so. And then this whole section here, this whole armature, this little double joint here needs to rotate around like this, come down, and then this whole section here with the spoiler will flip in, and it'll continue to rotate along this until that can flip in and then collapse neatly onto the back of the leg. Very smart. The toe here is going to rotate all the way and then just come up. And then this can be kind of a pain in the ass. This little rectangle section here, it's on a little joint and it needs to rotate against the knee. So just kind of push it like that. So it's kind of perpendicular to how it was. But onto the other side, same thing. This little armature here, just going to need to rotate this whole thing up until it kind of collapses in like this. Then the toe will come up, the wheel will come up, and then this spoiler section will lift, rotate around, flip up, and then rotate all the way to the back of the leg like so. And then the toe will rotate around and go into position. And then this knee section here will flip down. It's just a very tiny piece. It's a little difficult to turn, especially the first time. The first few times it was really tight. Over time it's kind of loosened. All right, so for the arms, these tiny little panels here need to flip in like so. Get those out of the way. Then this front section here are going to kind of pull off of here to give a little bit of clearance. And then this section here is going to split like so. And this is pretty ingenious. I like this. So this whole section is going to rotate to the side all the way around until you have the clearance to... Actually, I did that in the wrong order. So we're going to actually want to get the arms out of the way. So this section is going to kind of come out to the side for now, because these arms are going to need to unpeg from here and then kind of rotate up out of the way. Come on. There's a little retention peg on the underside of this little blue panel here. There you go. So kind of get them up out of the way. Now, so this section. So this will rotate around, and then this entire missile piece will kind of flip out on this little joint, and then just kind of lift up out of the way for now. And then this whole section will come up like so, and then this section will come down after you rotate the waist around. These hips need to kind of come up and get out of the way, and then the whole waist section needs to rotate with that flat section there, and then this panel will come up underneath, kind of holding that in place. Get all that how it has to be. Let's go over to the arms now. So the arms will kind of come down on that ball joint. Now that that white part is locked in place, this little blue panel will come up, kind of unlocking this section here, and then the wrists will just flip down. And that is about it, like so. And now just the chest panel will come down, and it's actually going to force the head out like this. And then the wheels will just tuck into the abdomen here, and everything will just peg together like so. And then there is Mirage. So this part will come down like so, forming his little shoulder cannon piece. That's pretty smart. I like how the shoulder cannon part is kind of like integrated into the transformation instead of it having to be just attached. It's kind of smart. But yeah, there's Mirage. He's pretty good. I mean, the whole thing is painted beautifully. He has like heft to him because of his feet. The transformation is really intuitive. It's not too difficult. It's kind of fun to mess with. And of course, you know, the paint is really good. Taking a look at his face. His face is painted really nice. I like those eyes. Sculpt is pretty good. Of course, you know, with the front part of his, like the fin of the front of the car is nice, kind of wrapped around the side of his abdomen. He cleans up pretty nice. The only thing that is a little bothersome is these big spoiler sections on the backs of his legs. Those kind of look a little unsightly. But all in all, it's not too bad. As far as his accessories go, of course, he can hold his gun just fine in his hand. No problem there. But then the little missile piece here, you can just pull it right off of that little peg, and you can replace it. There it goes, it's rolling away. You can replace it with the missile part. It's more like what he's known for with his toy appearance. So you can put that on there just fine. But let me show his articulation. Here, I'll go ahead and take his gun back off. Kind of move that out of the way. Obviously, this can pivot up and down. But his head is on a ball joint, so you can rock back and forth, move forwards and back just a teeny tiny little bit, and you can rotate it around just fine. His arms here are on a ball joint on the shoulder, so you can lift them up about that far, down about there, rotate them all the way around, which is fine. This little side panel can move up and down to get out of the way. He has a little mushroom peg there in his upper arm, so you can rotate that around all the way. And then you do have a pin joint on the elbow, which will get you just a little bit over 90 degrees, but nothing on the wrist or anything like that. His waist section can rotate 360 degrees around, and he does not actually have an ab crunch. I thought that he did. This panel here on the front can move. It is a jointed waist skirt, which is kind of a bummer because it looks kind of crappy. But when you move it out of the way with his ball jointed hips, you can get the legs up about 90 degrees. You can get them back pretty far and out all the way just fine. He does have a mushroom peg there in the thigh, so you can rotate that all the way around. And then he does have a single jointed knee, but because of that spoiler, you're not even going to get 90 degrees. That's kind of a bummer. I think you might be able to move that out of the way. Yeah, you can move that out of the way a little bit to get 90 degrees, but it looks kind of unsightly. He doesn't really have any foot articulation, but he does have toe articulation. So the toe can move up and down, and it can pivot in and out for ankle rocker, which is, it's not the greatest in the world, but he is at least solid because it is die-cast. Makes me wonder if that's why they're die-cast, is so that he can actually stand, because otherwise I think he'd probably fall over. But, not too bad. Not the best articulation, not the worst articulation. He's fine. But let me clean him up a little bit, and I'll do some size comparisons. Alright, so size comparisons. Here he is next to NEWAGE Bumper, one of their little mini-bots. How about with some other car bots? Here he is next to Jazz. And how about Prowl? So he's like pretty much the same size as Prowl. Jazz is just a little bit taller. So he's pretty good with their regular car bots. And then here, I'll do some other ones. Here's NEWAGE's Toxitron for their Prime mold. And how about Thundercracker for their Seeker mold. And then I'll also kind of shoehorn in Magic Square's Optimus. Get a good idea of how big he is, or how small he is, rather. Alright, so that'll do it for NEWAGE H42 SHEAN, or their Mirage. He's alright. He's definitely not the greatest in the world, just as far as like the proportions and his kind of like overall functionality, I want to say, for like his foot and like, or his feet and his articulation and whatnot. But his paint is really, really nice. His transformation is fun and kind of smart. I do really like that. So I mean, I can recommend him for sure. He's definitely he's I don't think that he's as good looking on the shelf as compared to kind of like Magic Square's version of Mirage, but that version is much larger. I actually don't have that one on hand anymore. I ended up getting rid of it so that I could have more kind of a complete kind of NEWAGE size bots. But I can say that that one probably looks a little bit better. But this one, as far as being a figure and being playable, I'd say this one's probably a little bit better than Magic Square, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I can recommend him. I think he's a pretty good figure. He's definitely not as good as some of NEWAGE's other stuff, but I think that he's just fine. But that's about it for him. Thank you for watching the video. Of course, if you made it this far, why not consider commenting, liking the video, subscribing maybe. I'd really appreciate it. Check out some of my older reviews if you would like to do so. I have a whole playlist that shows all of my other Transformers reviews and some of my other stuff. Of course, if you want to support me on Patreon, I would really appreciate it. That's more for like my 3D printing and my Armored Core stuff, but of course, it's the best way to support me. So please check it out. It's linked in the description. But of course, thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.